Today on the show, I'm speaking with Nikkea Devida. Now, she's the queen of helping people get unstuck and to move past limiting beliefs. And she has so much information to share, so stay tuned. Hi, it's Natalie Ledwell here, and this is The Inspiration Show. And today, my very special guest is the beautiful Miss Nikkea Devida. How are you, Nikkea?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Natalie.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, and I can't wait to get into our show today because you are the queen of helping people get unstuck and to get past their limiting beliefs, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. But to start with, let's get a little bit about your background and what led you up into the point that you're at now.
Okay, sure. Be happy to. Part of my background, I kind of have a confession to make that I always say that my background is full of a lot of BS, but of course I need to explain myself, don't I, and what that means. So the first BS is that I'm a born singer and a born systemizer. Ever since I can remember, I've always had the ability to sing and write songs, and so I've always had that really creative aspect of myself. But I've also, at the same time, had the equal ability to systemize and organize things. And so, as you can imagine, early on that set up an interesting dynamic in my personality, right? The extreme creative and this extreme analyzer.
Because it's unusual.
It is unusual to have extremes of both ability. And so, as you can imagine, in our culture, really the part that was validated and acknowledged was the systemizer. And so this next BS, in fact, is that I got a Bachelor of Science degree at the United States Air Force Academy, where I was took every engineering known to man. And then when I got out of when I graduated from the academy, I was an active duty military officer where I managed about $200 million worth defense contracts at the age of 22.
Wow.
And so it was again, a lot of ability and leadership and responsibility at a very young age in operations, project management, systems, and so forth. And then when I got out of the military, that continued. The third BS is business systems, where once again, I was a project manager for companies like Disney, Viacom, a pharmaceutical company. In fact, at the time, it was the highest per capita revenue company in the country. It was a multi-billion-dollar company with only like 100 employees, and it was nationwide. But again, and at that company, I was managing 22,000 SKUs of pharmaceuticals single-handedly. In fact, when I left, they had to replace me with 2 people because they followed the systems that I had started. But that's another story, right? So then the next BS, that while all of this was going on and it looked like things were going great on the outside, having, a lot of success in my career and so forth, but on the inside, I was empty. And so the third BS is my bulimia struggle, where for 13 years, I had an eating disorder where I was binging and purging an average of 2 to 6 times per day, every day, for 13 years.
Wow.
Now, I was aware of this problem, obviously, and I was trying to get help. So I did all the traditional things that, I knew to do, so therapy and things like that. But none of those things really helped. And I was pretty voracious in my attempt to get help. And so I read all the books and listened to the CDs, went to the seminars and so forth, but still nothing worked. And it got to the point where it's what actually created me having a medical discharge from the Air Force, because I was hospitalized for 4 months. And in the pursuit of recovery and treatment, I was even a guinea pig for the FDA to get Prozac indicated for eating disorders. So nothing worked. And that's really what led me to alternative complementary forms of treatment and exploring different healing modalities and so forth. And so, I kind of jokingly say, but not really, there's not a modality that I didn't write a check to.
Right.
So I either tried or became certified in or certified to train in a number of different modalities, at least a dozen, and then many others that I explored and tried. And they all left me feeling good. They were all great modalities. I could see the value and the benefit in all of them, but none of them worked for me and what I was dealing with until, which is the fourth BS, I discovered beliefs in the subconscious mind. And when I learned about the subconscious and I learned about how the subconscious mind is really what drives our results, that's when things started to turn around. In fact, when I started working with beliefs in my subconscious, the eating disorder turned around in 6 weeks.
Wow. So from 13 years
yeah,
of struggling with it to
yeah,
clearing it within 6 weeks.
yes. So that got my attention, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's how I became an accidental entrepreneur, because I started applying those principles to other areas of my life, and I got results there too.
Right.
And then other people started asking me, well, can you do that with me? And so that's really how a business got started.
Yeah.
And because of my ability to systemize and organize what I created, which people told me that was impossible to do, but I saw the system in it. So I created the system that would allow people to change their subconscious beliefs in minutes once they knew the system. And that's really what I've been doing for a number of years, and I've been doing this since 1995. So, I'm kind of one of the pioneers, but, kind of behind the scenes, which is another BS for a while. But I'm really excited to be sharing that with people today.
So what I'm thinking is that, there's a lot of us that we set goals. We know that there's action that we should be taking, but we don't. This plays into that as well?
Absolutely. And in fact, that's really the whole body of knowledge that I've been studying pretty voraciously since 1995, even before then. But through the work that I've explored and what made an impact for myself personally was exactly that. And so I'd like to, if it's okay, share some of the real nuggets that I discovered and learned along the way to share with people today that I think will really benefit them.
Absolutely. Please
okay.
share. Please share.
Okay. I'm excited to do that. So what I really discovered through studying with many different people in neuroscience and cellular biology, many of your people even are aware of Dr. Bruce Lipton, a cellular biologist. There are 4 key distinctions that I find that once people understand these distinctions, they really understand how important working with the subconscious mind is. Yep. And so the first one is that there are really key differences between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The first one is that the conscious mind is what's called volitional. It's the part of you that says, oh, I want to go for this goal or that goal. And it's the part of you that can discern, how am I doing toward that goal? Am I getting where I say I want to go? Yeah. The subconscious mind, on the other hand, is the part of you that's just running programs. It's doing what it's automatically programmed to do, so it's habitual. And what's true is that everything that you've ever seen, heard, experienced has been stored in your subconscious mind, which is pretty powerful. The next distinction that plays into that is the relationship with time. The conscious mind understands linear time. It understands past, present, and future. And however, the subconscious mind only understands present time only. Right. This is the good news and the bad news. Because the good news is all the great stuff that you've accumulated that supports you up till today is still working present time only. But if you've had any experiences from the past that you have not had a specific way to resolve at the subconscious level, those programs are alive and well, operating with the same intensity today as they were 10, 20, 30, 40 plus years ago. Right. And in fact, through what's called genomic imprinting, our beliefs and programs were downloaded to us 2 months prior to conception. Wow. Conception. Not just birth, not even just in utero, conception. So that's really powerful. The next distinction is around language, where the conscious mind understands what are called abstractions. It understands things like healthy, wealthy, successful, concepts like that. The subconscious mind, however, does not have an ability to process language in that way. It only understands what's called sensory-based language, what you can hear, feel, smell, taste, and touch. Right. And so, or taste and see, hear, feel, taste, and smell. And so, easy for me to say, right? And so, we have to have a way to get what we consciously say that we want into the language that the subconscious understands. When we do that, we have a lot better chance of achieving our goals successfully, and especially when it's downloaded into the subconscious. Because an analogy that I like to use is a car analogy. It's very simple. So imagine if you have your foot on the brake and your foot on the gas at the same time. What happens?
Well, nothing. You just rev the guts out of the car.
Exactly. And it's very stressful for the engine, but you don't get anywhere. Well, that's true for your mind as well. If you have, imagine, subconscious beliefs that are the brake, and your conscious mind beliefs are saying, I want to go in a certain direction, then if you don't have a way to take your foot off the brake, then you're going to be stuck.
Right.
So here's the most important distinction between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. It's this processing ability and capacity. The conscious mind processes an average of 2,000 bits of information per second, which sounds like a lot. But when you compare that to the subconscious mind, it processes at 4 billion bits of information per second. So when you do the math, which of course I did, the subconscious mind is 99.99995% of the power of what you manifest and the results that you get in your life. So when you really consider the difference between the conscious and subconscious mind, you really want to remove the limiting beliefs so that you can accelerate in the direction that you say you want.
Yeah.
And the main reason there, too, is because there's a manifesting equation that's well known, which is your beliefs lead to your thoughts, lead to your feelings, lead to your actions, equal your results.
Yeah.
And so if you're not getting results in a particular area that you choose, chances are you have subconscious beliefs that are holding you back and getting in the way.
Right. So if they're wondering if they have a limiting belief, that would be the reason that if they just evaluate certain areas of their life that they're not getting results.
Yeah, that's really the easy way.
Yeah.
There's a systematic way,
Yeah.
of course. But
Of
the
course.
easy way to just have, kind of have a sense is, yeah, when you look at the results that you have in your life, if your life is going great in a particular area, then don't worry about it. Chances are you're doing okay there.
Yeah.
But if there are one or two or more areas that you're either not getting the results or you're not getting the results as quickly, then absolutely it's a good idea to explore your limiting beliefs in that area.
Right. Because, when I've talked about limiting beliefs before, there are so many different modalities out there like EFT and hypnosis and meditation and visualization. Now, they work for some people, but they don't work for others. So how do you explain that?
Yeah, that's a great point. And these are all great modalities. They can help each other, help people move toward what they say they want in their lives very effectively. And like you said, it doesn't seem to work all the time, or maybe for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And that's what I have found is that partly some of those things don't systematically get to the level of the subconscious. And when you're using those modalities rather randomly, without a systematic way to communicate directly with the subconscious mind, sometimes it's kind of like throwing spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks.
Right.
Much better if you have a very precise way to communicate to find out what's the highest priority belief in the right order at the right time with the right change tool, and how to know when you're done. So the main thing, though, is many of those modalities don't directly communicate with the subconscious mind. Right.
Because I know that you have a really amazing, simple, way to deal with the limiting beliefs. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I've created, and it was something it still is pretty revolutionary, even though I created this about 8 years ago, that I was told that it was impossible to systemize the process of belief change, to create a custom, precise reprogramming system that allows people to change their limiting beliefs in minutes with no repetition and no mental gymnastics and all of that, just results. So the system I created is called the Accelerated Change Template, or ACT. So it's the ACT Belief Change System, and it's a 5-step process that really utilizes what we know now in neuroscience, cellular biology about really how the brain works. Because as is known now, the mind is not like a computer chip. It is a computer chip. So we are programmable biocomputers. Right. And so when you think about how does a software program run, it works the same as we do. So if you were able to call up a word processing document, edit, save, and you're done, that's really as easy as it is to change your limiting beliefs. So imagine that you could change your limiting beliefs as easily as editing a word processing document. You edit, you save, and you're done. And imagine being able to identify the highest priority overall goal, the highest priority beliefs in the right order, at the right time, with the right change tool, and how to know when you're done precisely.
Yeah.
That's really what the ACT system is. So the 5 steps are, the C, it's a 5-step clear process. The C stands for choose, communicate, and clarify the goal for the subconscious mind. And this is really goal setting for the subconscious mind versus the conscious mind. Although, of course, when you do that, you'll get a lot of clarity for the conscious mind as well.
Yeah.
And so this is making sure that all those things that I just talked about are those distinctions with the conscious versus subconscious mind. We utilize all of those principles in that first step. The next step is the L, which is levels of permission. The levels of permission has 2 functions. One is to make sure that it's safe and appropriate and in your highest and best good to do this change. So one of the key features of this system is that it aligns not only the subconscious mind with what you consciously say you want, it also aligns your superconscious mind.
Right.
So imagine having the subconscious, conscious, and superconscious mind in full alignment and harmony. That's what this system does.
Right.
So the highest, to make sure that the levels of permission is there, that's really the part that taps into the higher consciousness as well. The second part is the accelerator, where you might only be able to download and install 1 belief at a time. It's just a matter of minutes, so it's still pretty fast.
Yeah.
But imagine if you were able to download and reinstall beliefs dozens at a time in the same one processing, doing the change one time. So it greatly accelerates how much change you can take on if you're given permission to do so. The E is called elicit the highest priority goals and beliefs. That's where we're really identifying what is the highest priority thing for you to work on that's going to make the biggest change in the shortest period of time. So I liken that to a logjam analogy, where in the logging industry, when the logs are floating down the river, there's a logjam. And it's much more effective and efficient to clear the jam where the cause is, as opposed to upwards of the river and just kind of randomly picking the logs out. Well, the same is true with your limiting beliefs. If you go to the highest priority belief or beliefs that are creating the jam in your life of you not getting the result, then you're going to clear all the rest when you go for the highest priority. So that's like in the car analogy, removing the beliefs that are causing your foot to be on the brake the hardest and the most voraciously.
Right.
So that's the eliciting the highest priority. The A is aligning the highest priority goals and beliefs. This is where the change happens. And the good news with ACT is that ACT is not only a modality in itself, where there's many different change tools built within the ACT system, but this system operates beautifully with any other modality that you know. And because it's identifying the highest priority change tool, whether it's one of the ACT modalities or EFT or NLP or hypnosis or any other change tool, this is how you know what is the exact right change tool to use for the job.
Right.
And then the R is repeat until complete. Now let me explain that, because sometimes people misunderstand what that means. Repeat until complete doesn't mean that you have to redo the change. Once you've changed a belief at the subconscious level with this system, you're done. Just like you don't have to reinforce a save in the computer when you edit a word processing document. What the repeat until complete is making sure that you've identified and changed all the beliefs necessary to change around a particular overall goal to make sure that your foot gets off the brake and stays off the brake and go so that you can go in the direction that you choose. So that's really the high points of what the 5-step clear system is.
Yeah. You know, the system that you put together, like you said, is very simple and easy to use.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's wonderful that you've been able to identify the fact that you've had this creative side, but you have this systemized side as well to be able to make it easy to teach anyone. And I know, like you said, you've been doing this since 1995. Now, if people want to find out more about this system and more about you, where can we send them?
I have some gifts for everybody that you can explore this a little bit further. And so where we can go is www.fastresultsformula.com/MindMovies. So I'll go ahead and spell it out again for everybody. www.fast, F-A-S-T, results, R-E-S-U-L-T-S, so results is plural, formula, FORMULA.com/mind, M-I-N-D, movies, M-O-V-I-E-S. So fastresultsformula.com/mind movies. And on that page, when you opt in, you're going to get 4 free gifts. One of them is an opportunity to apply for an accelerated results momentum session so that we can identify what is the most strategic thing that you can do to have a breakthrough in your life in whatever area is keeping you stuck right now. The other thing is a video. So remember, one of the 5 steps of the 5-step clear system is communicate with the subconscious mind. I have a video that I've prepared for you that if you would like to learn how to communicate directly with your subconscious mind and identify the beliefs that are keeping you stuck, I have a video tutorial and a booklet available for you to download that you can explore that yourself.
Wonderful.
Thank you. The other thing that you have is a free ebook called Stop Trying Harder, How to Get Unstuck Without Coming Unglued, to give you more information and detail about how the subconscious mind works. Another thing that I have is a complimentary subscription to my Accelerated Results Tips e-zine, where I'll give you tips and articles full of great content once or twice a month that you can enjoy and use in many different areas of how you can get unstuck. So those are just a few of the tools that I have for people who want to visit and explore more.
Nikkea, thank you so much. You've been really generous with your time and generous with the gifts that you're giving away. So thank you again for joining me today.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.